What's up, comic book fans? Anchor Pete here. I got a really tight shirt on right now. It's not very flattering, but you know what? Brian's got a Rangers shirt because he just went to a Rangers game, right?
No, I just watched a Rangers game. That's all.
Oh, I think we're going to like an actual game.
Oh no, I would no way be home from Madison Square Garden by now.
Oh, okay. I was thinking, I was like, that's not possible. Okay, all right, well, whatever. Brian watched the Rangers game, but you know what? It was Brian's birthday this week. So everyone should wish happy birthday to Brian in the comments. Happy birthday, sir.
Thank you very much.
Did you get anything awesome for your birthday?
No, because I buy too much stuff for myself, and I said no one get me anything. So so what I actually got, which turned out very nicely, was that HasLab Star Saber figure that funded at midnight on my birthday. So it was that's pretty nice little fitting thing there.
How much money do they need to make something like that?
They needed 11,000 units, and it was $180. So I can't do that kind of math in my head.
But like hundreds of thousands of dollars?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Wow, that's so crazy to make like a special Transformers figure.
It was about just shy of $2 million.
Holy shit! That is crazy.
Well, and that's just that was just to make it. So they actually hit over 20,000. So hold on a second here. Let's just do that. So that's 3.6 million. They got
that is insane. That's one of the craziest things to think about is that there's that many Transformers fans that would be into this to make this one figure, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Because like with comics,
I'm very glad about it because they hit all their tiers and everything like that. Although the tiers weren't that great, but it's still nice additions to it.
Let me ask you this: do you think that there are more Transformer fans than there are superhero comic fans?
No, definitely not.
Okay, I guess based on like the success of the movies, maybe would tell you that people are more into comics than Transformers, right?
I would think so. Yeah, I think especially with the even with the success, the financial success of the Transformers movies, obviously nothing beats Marvel in that game. But even still, I think this hobby of mine is a little more niche, whatever, than you might expect.
So, like, it's a bunch of people that are really dedicated to it, right? And they'll just put money into it. Is that how it works, essentially?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, the reason why I brought up the whole fandom thing is because tonight we're going to be talking about Venom, right? And for Venom, it's interesting because I think that with this movie and the original Venom, so I'm talking about Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I feel like the main audience for this movie are people that actually don't read comics. Do you think I'm off with that?
100%.
100%. I'm on the money, right?
Yes, on the money.
Right.
Nail on the head. Money in the bank, whatever you want to call it. Yes.
There you go. Nice. Yeah. See, because I actually read a couple of Venom comics right before we did this recording. And I remember Venom from the 90s. I've known the character since I was a kid. He debuted pretty much like right when I was getting into comics. He's very different in the comics, even in the modern day, from the Tom Hardy version of Venom.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, the symbiote is different, and Eddie Brock is very different.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing too is you have to consider, and this is a huge detriment in my eyes, is that there's no Spider-Man connection.
Yeah.
And that's a huge part of the variation that we're seeing here, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think one of the biggest problems that I have overall with this movie Venom version is it's just a little bit too humorous, I guess.
Yeah.
And I can see why they needed to do that. I think it's something that works very well in the Marvel formula to have humor injected into these movies and all that. But and I don't know what this movie looks like without it. I don't know how you make a Venom origin movie that has nothing to do with Spider-Man and that doesn't have humor in it to make it more relatable to the average fan or viewer or whatever.
Do you know the term lampshading? Do you know what that means?
What you know what I know what it is, but why don't you fill in the audience?
There you go. Okay, so lampshading is essentially when you make a joke that's like inappropriate. You make it at the expense of like a certain group of people or something. Like you make a joke about homosexuals, or you make a joke about an ethnicity, right? But then you like point out that you know you're making that joke, so it's like okay that you made it, you know. And like shows like the Big Bang Theory and stuff, they do a lot of lampshading because they have like a lot of misogyny, but then they're kind of like, but you know, these guys are awkward, so it's okay that they're being misogynistic, right? And I feel like with Venom, the 2 Venom movies, there's lampshading in the sense of, yeah, we know how ridiculous this is. This is just so ridiculous, and so we're just going all in. We know you think this is stupid. We're not taking it serious. And I have to say that, like, I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea because Venom just, no matter what form he takes, is kind of ridiculous, don't you think?
Yeah, I do think so. Yes, ultimately, with the exception of when in the comics you get to the Flash Thompson Venom, and I think that one just works so much better. And I think they should just. I almost hate to say this because it's skipping so much, but they should have went straight to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Venom is from the like kind of mid to late 80s, the character in Marvel. And the window of time that you're talking about with this Flash Thompson character is such a small period of time compared to the decades the character's been around.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like the writer that wrote that Agent Venom comic, Rick Remender, he did what he did with Deadpool too, which Deadpool is kind of this kind of annoying character in the comics, but he was able to write him in such a way that he was like endearing and you cared about him, and he added these layers to Deadpool. And he did that with Venom, but to do that, he had to get rid of Eddie Brock, right?
Yeah.
So I had a couple of questions to kind of tee up to you to see, just to kind of see how you feel about this whole thing. So in general, that's your favorite version of Venom is the Flash Thompson Agent Venom?
Yes.
Okay.
And my 10-year-old self would probably argue with me because like at the time it's like, oh my God, it's a black Spider-Man and he wants to eat Spider-Man's brains. And it's you know, I think we all have seen or had that cover with where Venom is holding a skull with a Spider-Man mask on it, and it's like mimicking Shakespeare.
Yeah.
It was like the coolest cover to me when I was 10 or 11, you know?
Yes.
But yeah, I would definitely say that I got the most enjoyment out of reading the Flash Thompson Venom by Remender than I did anything else.
Yeah. And I think that is the main appeal. It's the appeal that we had as your 10-year-old self and my 10-year-old self, is that aesthetically Venom is very cool. Spider-Man, the reason why he has such a tremendous following and kids love him so much is because aesthetically Spider-Man is amazing. The Spider-Man costume design is pretty much like perfect. And Venom is just a variation of that, but kind of like scary and badass and big. And so I think that like the 90s, from which Venom is kind of like most known for, it's a whole decade where people are just like into comics looking good and the art being the most important part. And the stories take a real far backseat to that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a decent idea for a character, but it just didn't have the legs to go the distance, I don't think. Like, I think it worked as a Spider-Man villain, and I can understand why people wanted more of it, but the more of it never really worked, really.
Right. So let me ask you this. Is there a version of the Eddie Brock Venom that you do like in the comics or that you have enjoyed?
I mean, I don't want to say I dislike it, but nothing really stands out to me for it. I mean, I always enjoyed the origin of it. It was, you know, the symbiote was rejected by Peter Parker. Eddie Brock was wronged by Peter's work, and he got fired because of Peter Parker. I liked that synergy worked really well, and that's something that was hugely missing from these movies.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's like the whole reason he's there, you know. And I mean, on some levels, I like this version of Venom better than the Spider-Man 3 version.
Okay.
But
yeah, sure.
they at least had that origin down, right?
Yeah. They had the whole church sequence. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yes.
So, from your 10-year-old self that was into that origin stuff, then you must have really liked the Spider-Man animated version of Venom, right?
Oh, of course, yes.
Yes. That was just so well done. Because I mean, like, his voice was so well done. The animation was great on the show. Then there was like a Venom toy that you could like push a button on his back and he would talk. Did you ever have that toy?
I don't think I had that one. I had some Venom figure, but I don't think I had that one.
Yeah. Like, you would push a button on his back and he'd be like, "Oh, I want to eat your brains," or he'd say something like that. This little creepy toy, like, "I'll eat your brains." And that's one of the things, if we're actually going to talk about this movie too, is that they go all in on the brain eating stuff. They say that Venom needs to eat brains because there's some sort of compound or whatever that's in human brains and in chocolate. And that's why he wants to eat people's brains.
Yeah. So I think they explain it. It's a chemical called like fentanyl or fentanylamine or something.
That sounds right.
And that actually does stimulate people's brains. So I guess that works.
Yeah. It's like they're trying to capture that thing that we're talking about from our childhood, like that figure saying, "I want to eat your brains," and he says it in the comics a couple of times, and so they're like, "Oh, we got to get that brain part in there," and it just kind of makes like weak elements, It's like it's not enough to stand on, like you said, but it's so weird because there's so many components in the making of this movie that I like absolutely love, right? Like, I got a metaphor for you, right?
Sure.
Imagine I came over your house. Do you like sushi or no?
Yeah.
Okay, so I got sushi, I got ice cream, I got some beer. What beer should I bring to your house?
Well, I just had some beer at a bar watching this Ranger game, and it was some craft beer, but it was a Spaceballs reference, and I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was pretty good. It was called We've Gone to Plaid.
Oh, all right, nice. All right, that's cool. So I got some hip beer called We've Gone to Plaid. I got that with me. So I got the sushi, the ice cream, the hip beer, and then I have some pizza, right? And I say, "Okay, Brian, you ready?" And you think, okay, maybe Pete will have me drink the beer while we eat the sushi as like an appetizer, then we'll have the pizza, then we'll have the ice cream, right? But instead I say, "Brian, what you do with this is you take the sushi, you put it on top of the pizza, you dip it into the ice cream, and then for dessert, we're going to freeze the beer and eat it as ice cubes." Now, what the fuck am I talking about? What I'm talking about here is those are 4 things that I know it sounds like you like, and I definitely like. And I love Andy Serkis. I love Tom Hardy. I love Woody Harrelson. And I love Marvel Comics. Like, those are 4 things you could just put together and should be amazing. And yet it's nothing. There's like nothing to this movie. It's like completely, I've like almost forgotten about it completely. And it's been like less than 2 weeks for me.
Yeah, for me, I saw it on Monday, and it's like I just remember rolling my eyes like 10 or 15 times. And I remember we saw the first Venom together.
Yes.
And we kind of did that during that movie as well. And
yes.
I actually rewatched that movie today, just as a point of reference. I mean, I almost feel like I couldn't roll my eyes to the point that movie as much and as strongly as I did in this movie.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Like, do you like Carnage at all? We've talked a lot about Venom, but do you like Carnage?
No. No, I never liked Carnage. I know we disagree on this, but I never like the maniacal serial killer type villain. I think it's very one note. It just never does it for me. And that's all Carnage is. And it never did it for me. My son feels the opposite. He thinks it's cool and red, and he loved it. But for me, Carnage has never done it for me.
Yeah, I understand. I think probably the only reason why I did like him for a while was because like I got into Spider-Man like right when he showed up, and he was like mopping the floor with Venom and Spider-Man at the same time, and he just looked so cool. Once again, this aesthetically, awesome character. And the thing is, with Woody Harrelson playing him, like, this is a guy that has played an awesome serial killer in Natural Born Killers. And this movie's even kind of set up to be like that.
Yeah.
And yet, Carnage is not even a serial killer in this. It's just this, like, he just kind of kills people, but it's bloodless and tame. It's, I don't know.
Well, I have to reference my favorite YouTube series, Pitch Meetings, where did you watch it for Venom?
No.
For Venom 2? So there's a line there where the writer is describing that, oh, we're gonna have Venom break out and he's gonna rip this guy in half and tear his spine out, and the director's like, oh no, it has to be PG-13, and he's just gonna throw them against the wall, and that's gonna be it.
I did see that, dude. You said your favorite YouTube thing, and at first I thought you said fish penis.
Oh,
then I thought you said
that's my second favorite thing.
Oh, okay.
I just did my favorite YouTube series, Pitch Meetings, and yeah, I can see how that sounds like fish penis.
You're always watching such like hip stuff that I don't even like know, and you've watched like 3 seasons of it, like BoJack Horseman and like that Canadian show that you like.
Oh, Letterkenny's great too.
Yeah, with the guy that they want to have as Wolverine, and like I don't know any of those references or anything. So I was like, okay, he watches Fish Penis, you know?
Yeah. Fish Penis is a great show. It's the next Squid Game, and you should all get on the train.
Well, I did see that pitch meeting, and you were so right. It's like, yeah, that was so perfect the way that guy, presented it. And I think the part that encapsulates that so much is when they're having the breakout, when Carnage is breaking out of the prison, he does this thing where he like spins like a whirlwind. Like he's never done that shit in the comics.
Yeah, that was an eye roll, absolutely an eye roll. Yeah.
Did your eyes ever roll back in your head?
I wish they did, because I would have loved to have looked away.
Yeah. It's just, and like Woody Harrelson has like so much potential. Like, me and Sherry are big fans of Woody Harrelson. Like there's certain movies that like not a lot of people know about, but he's in them and they're just like so fucking good. Like there's this one movie called like Out of the Furnace with Christian Bale. Have you ever heard of that or saw it?
I've heard of it, but I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, like not a lot of people have, right? Because it's like kind of one of those under the radar movies. He's this like really scary villain in it. And then he's in that last Planet of the Apes movie, and he's once again like a really great villain. In this, he's just completely toothless, and he's playing a character whose whole identity is based upon just killing people and being menacing, and it's just nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess on paper, like you mentioned before, that like on paper, it felt the premise felt very Natural Born Killers, but it just completely missed the mark. And I mean, Woody Harrelson is great. He's absolutely played some fantastic roles. He's a great actor, but he's definitely had his share of misses as well. And this is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, Tom Hardy too. I mean, I love Tom Hardy, but like he looks so lost in these movies. Like he doesn't know what the hell to do.
Yeah.
And like, it's sad. It's sad to see all these people in this movie, and it's just like I just got very little enjoy. I mean, there were like a joke or two that I laughed at, but like I don't want to laugh at it. I guess I don't know.
No, I understand, because the humor kind of feels like below you. It kind of feels like a 15-year-old is making the joke, right?
Yeah.
Well, so okay. I did a little background research, and some of the stuff is actually kind of interesting. Like the first Venom wasn't directed by Andy Serkis; it was directed by Ruben Fleischer. Okay, and he did Zombieland and Zombieland Double Tap. Did you like the first Zombieland?
I did like the first Zombieland. I didn't see the second one.
Yeah, and Woody Harrelson's in that, and he's great, right? The first Venom movie has a whole bunch of writers, which a lot of these comic book movies kind of suffer from, where they have a bunch of writers working on one project. Those Transformers movies definitely had that. Yeah. But just some of the writers, there's a guy named Jeff Pinker, who I thought you would have had some interest in, because he was the showrunner on Fringe. And weren't you like a big fan of Fringe?
Oh, I loved Fringe, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't recognize the name. I guess when I was watching that show, that was before I really started to pay attention to showrunners. I don't even think they were even really publicized that much at that point, with rare exception with like Chris Carter in the X-Files and like I mean, it's probably something else I can think of, but I can't. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I did love Fringe.
Yeah, so this one guy that was a writer on there, he wrote Fringe. He was a writer on Fringe, but then he also did like Jumanji 1 and 2, the new ones with The Rock, and I like those a lot.
I like those movies too. Yeah.
Right. He had a couple of misses though. He also did that Dark Tower movie, and he did Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is kind of rough, you know. Yeah. And then the other writers, you got this guy Scott Rosenberg, who did like Con Air, and he did High Fidelity. So there's like this pedigree to the writers in the first Venom movie, and I do feel like the first Venom movie is above this one.
Oh, clearly, yes.
Yeah. There's a woman named Kelly Marcel, and she's another writer on there. She wrote 50 Shades of Grey. She wrote Saving Mr. Banks, and she was a script editor on Bronson. Now, Bronson stars Tom Hardy. Did you see that?
Love Bronson.
Yes, yes. And I bet you they have a connection from that movie because that's kind of a more intimate movie, like, you know, small budget, right?
Absolutely.
And so she was the writer with Tom Hardy on Let There Be Carnage.
Okay. Oh, whoa. Tom Hardy was part of the writing team on Oh, okay.
It's the two of them. It's Tom Hardy and her writing this movie.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, you always hear about when these actors get cast in these superhero movies that they don't know anything about the character, they don't read the comics,
Right.
and I think, you know, there are people that, and there are certainly people that are fans that do know them and all that, but sometimes people just want to have their creative vision, and it's just not what some fans want, and this was definitely one of those times.
Yeah. Like, have you ever heard rumors of like there was going to be a Green Lantern movie with Jack Black as Hal Jordan?
No.
Yeah.
Be interesting.
Yeah. Before the big comic book boom, when there was a whole bunch of successful comic book movies, they were trying to make a Green Lantern movie, and it was going to be a comedy, and Jack Black was going to be Hal Jordan, and it was going to be like crude and stupid. There's going to be like fart jokes and stuff.
Okay.
And it's that kind of thing, just like the Tim Burton Superman Lives, where it's like they like the character. There's an appreciation for the character, but it's just like this different thing. Just like you said, it's not.
Yeah. It's like just creating something with like a shell over it, really. You know.
Right. And so I think that Tom Hardy probably has respect for the fans, and he appreciates them, and he wants them to enjoy the movie. But they're making a Venom that's essentially just like an extension of that first Venom. And I think that the first Venom is grounded very much in the Venom comics, but they really amped up the humor. And there's also this kind of like homoerotic kind of concept in the first Venom too. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I mean, you're referring to the kiss scene, or just more in general?
Yeah, just in general, is that like there kind of became this little fan base that like really likes the movie Venom because of like Eddie and the symbiote being like a couple.
Okay.
And so like I don't know if you noticed, but I feel like in Let There Be Carnage they kind of really amped that up a lot.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially with the last scene, but you know, not the credit scene, but the last scene where I think Venom actually says like I love you or something like that. Yeah,
he does. Yes.
I mean, also, and then too, like I mentioned with that kiss there in that first movie, you know, it's supposedly it's Michelle Williams in the Venom, you know, as She Venom or whatever you want to say, and then she later says, "Oh, it was his idea."
Right.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, there's this whole like kind of gay subtext to it, and I think that they kind of played it up because they knew that sort of added to the movie being successful. And I mean, there's that one scene where Venom leaves Eddie in this one, and he like goes to like a rave or something, or like a costume party. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yes.
And he's got all like the rainbow colored glow lights and stuff. So I feel like they were kind of leaning into that a lot this time around.
Yeah, especially with the speech too, and thank God that was a speech and not a rap, which I was very fearful of. I was like, I mean, everything I've seen, this is all lining up, and I mean, it's so weird, But I'm so thankful that was not a Venom rap scene because I think I might have got up walked out.
Yeah. Because
yeah,
I think
there's definitely a lot of subtext in that. It was like a very much a breakup speech.
Yeah.
I don't need you. I'm better off without you and all this. But deep down they know that's not true.
Right, exactly. I think that I actually did think it was going to be a rap song too, because I'm pretty sure that Eminem did a song for this one too.
Yes,
and he did the song. Yeah. So I thought that like maybe he would kind of start doing almost like a ninja rap kind of thing, but he'd be doing the Eminem song.
Thank God.
Yeah. Seriously, Jesus. You wouldn't have made it to your birthday, man. It's just jumped off a bridge,
Yep. Right in the
so, I wanted to talk about another character that they introduced in this movie. They introduced Shriek, right?
Yes.
And she's played by Naomi Harris. And it's funny because the way that they did her up, I was like, she looks just like this other character from another movie. And then I realized she looks like it's the same actress, but there's this character called Teodama from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Yeah.
Right. And so I didn't realize that was her. And then I was like, oh, it's the same person, but they look a lot alike.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I mean, it is like you said, it's the same person. I mean, of course, there are going to be some similarities. Yeah, but even the haircut, very similar.
Yeah, and I think that maybe Teodama even maybe has two different color eyes like Shriek. But
I mean, I also got. I mean, you can get this from the comic character too. I drew comparisons to the movie Deadpool's Domino. I mean, because comic Shriek looks a lot like comic Domino.
Yeah. Yes.
And having a black actress play Domino in Deadpool, and then having a black actress play Shriek. I don't even know if you can say what nationality or Shriek actually is in the comics. But
Shriek's real name in the comics is Francis Barrison, which they say in this movie too. Yeah.
But that doesn't shine. That doesn't like ring any bells or anything like that for me. So I really don't know. But but the thing with the eye, just the general look overall, I felt there was some kind of parallels there.
Yeah. Well, what kind of blew my mind doing some research, right, was that the stuff with Shriek is very similar to stuff in the comics. There isn't this kind of like love connection between her and Carnage. Carnage does kind of love her or appreciate her, but it's not this like Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, it's not star-crossed lovers like it was in the movie. Yeah,
right. But the cop that's in the movie, I wrote his name down, Patrick Mulligan.
Yeah,
that cop is in the comics too, and I believe he does shoot Shriek in the comics too.
No, he was not involved. He was not involved with Shriek's origin.
Oh, okay. But she's a mutant in the comics, right?
That's not clear to me. And they actually dropped a mutant term. Did they actually say mutant or something?
They said mutations.
Mutation. It was, yes, exactly. Yeah. And I thought that was very interesting.
Right. They're like the mutations are increasing or something, or they're getting stronger. Yeah. So
I understand. I mean, Shriek is an older character. I don't know the exact year, but Officer Mulligan, who becomes Toxin, that's like early 2000s. So I don't see how they could be. I don't believe they were related.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think I kind of made a little mess up. Shriek, the first time they introduced her was in Maximum Carnage, which was this big giant crossover, and Carnage escapes from a mental institution, and he takes her out with him, and they kind of go on this killing spree with like the Spider-Man doppelganger and the Demo Goblin. Right? I bet you played the game for it, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Of course.
I mean, you had to have the red cartridge.
Yes. Yeah. For Super Nintendo, right, or Sega?
It was on both, but the games were slightly different. But I had the red. Actually, I didn't own it. I only rented it a few times, but it was the red Maximum Venom SNES cartridge.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So I mean, that's where Shriek comes from. And you're right, Toxin comes later, and he is that character, that Patrick Mulligan character. But I just think it'd be lame for them to kind of continue the story and use that same actor. Like, I like that actor a lot. I didn't write down his name, but he's always like small little bit parts and like
I
HBO
would
things.
say, is it Stephen Graham?
That sounds right. He's a British guy to begin with.
Yeah.
He kind of, it's funny because he kind of reminded me of Donnie Wahlberg.
I thought the same thing. Yes.
Yeah. Because like Donnie Wahlberg kind of plays that character in like the Saw movies, and he's on that like Blue Blood show, right?
Yeah. Like a shorter Donnie Wahlberg.
Right. And so at the end of this movie, and obviously like spoilers for Let There Be Carnage, who gives a shit, right? But like he kind of has like two eyes that are like Shriek's eyes at the end. I thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah, I feel like they almost made it seem like he now has Shriek's powers, which seems odd. I don't know where the heck they're going with that. I mean, at the same time, maybe that's more interesting than having yet another symbiote with similar powers and just have a, weird CGI mishmash of symbiote battles. So I mean, or maybe that they don't go back to that at all based on the end credit scene.
Yeah. Well, why don't we speculate about that? It's kind of funny because I feel like we actually didn't really like talk about the actual movie that much at all.
Well, yeah, because it's just a ridiculously like forgettable thing. I just sighed the whole movie, really.
Yeah.
And rolled my eyes every second of the movie for the most part. I laughed once or twice, and that was kind of it. I remember certain parts, but I guess my brain just wants to forget it.
Yeah. I saw it with my mom, and usually when she goes out to see a movie with me, she gets pretty excited that we're going to see a movie. And at one point I turned to her and I said, those are two of my favorite actors, like Tom Hardy and Woody Harrelson, and they are in such a stupid fucking movie. Right? So you brought up this great point of what's going to happen next, and they did this thing where like the world kind of shifted, right?
Yeah.
So you're assuming that is like something to do with Spider-Man No Way Home, right?
No. I mean, I think that when Venom was trying to show Eddie part of the past on his planet, it did something and it switched. I think whatever Venom did caused it. I don't think the events of No Way Home did that because that was nothing weird happened yet. There was no Doctor Strange involvement yet. This was literally the moment when the video was released to the public where Spider-Man was outed as Peter Parker. So it couldn't have been anything in that world doing it. It had to have been what Venom did. But as far as I know, there's no precedent for that. And it's just a really, really like hacky way of putting these things together. Like, I mean, like the thought of it is exciting because it's like, finally, this is the thing that I've wanted. Like I wanted Venom and Spider-Man. I wanted that whole thing, but it's probably too little too late, honestly. And this was such a poor movie. And I'm so generally disappointed by Tom Hardy's performance in this movie, and especially after knowing that he wrote most of the movie. I don't want it,
Well, let me ask you this, because obviously what Venom did shifted something, and he goes and he licks the TV that has Peter Parker with his mask off, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that because Sony really wants to build up the Spider-Man universe, do you think that they're going to make it that the symbiotes are like, what the hell's his name? Moreland? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. It's funny. I just got a Moreland Marvel Legends figure in the mail like 2 days ago. The Inheritors.
Right. So do you think that so just today they just announced that it's going to be Spider-Man Across the Multiverse, right? For the next one.
Wait, what?
Yeah. They just announced the name of the sequel to Into the Spider-Verse. It's called Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh, no, I have not seen that yet. Okay.
Yeah. So, and there was another announcement today too, which was that Tom Holland said that the third Spider-Man movie was kind of prepped to be like the end of a saga, right?
Yeah.
So I've thought about this since Venom too, which was like, are they going to do No Way Home and essentially Peter is going to be taken out of the MCU completely? You know,
I have such mixed emotions on this.
Yeah.
I have enjoyed the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, but for the most part, I absolutely hear what people are saying, how Spider-Man is like a sidekick, and he's taking a backseat to these other characters and all that, and I see that, but I absolutely think Spider-Man can stand on his own. Like there's so many characters, much like, like his rogues gallery is like second only to Batman, really, and and it absolutely can stand alone on its own. But I also just like shudder thinking about the MCU without Spider-Man.
Right, exactly.
Like to me, he is the most prominent thing in Marvel to me. Like, and just. I hope that's not it. I mean, I want to see an expansion of actual Spider-Man characters and storylines, because we've barely scratched the surface. I mean, we've gotten we got Vulture, we got Shocker, and then we had Mysterio, and Spider-Man. But we don't have any of the supporting characters. I mean, yes, J. Jonah Jameson popped up in that end of that movie there, but we don't have Jonah, we don't have Robbie, we don't have we have a different MJ. There's no Gwen. There's no Felicia Hardy. There's so many characters that are great, and we're just not getting there. And I think in this Sony world, maybe we'll get more of that. But I wish they could all be connected, but the quality of these Venom movies really scares me. And I don't know what's going to happen.
Right. And the thing is that another thing that is just evidence to your case is this Morbius movie. Or Morbius. How the fuck do you pronounce it?
Yeah, Morbius, yeah.
Morbius, right? And, I've read a couple of his books and stuff, growing up. But, like, that looks like crap.
Yeah, I mean, did you get the trailer for that before this?
I did not get the trailer for it, but I remember seeing the trailer like 6 months ago.
Oh, there's a new trailer. It does look a little bit better, honestly.
Oh, okay.
But it looks like it's taking itself a little more seriously, at least. So, sure. I don't know. I mean, Jared Leto is a very hit or miss actor as well. Sometimes he's fantastic, and sometimes he's just like too over the top. I'm not really sure where this is going to fall here, but I mean, I'll definitely go see it. I've never really been super interested in the character, but I mean, I will go see it. I mean, I go see everything.
Yeah. And one thing I kind of want to say is like a disclaimer too, is that like, I know I really trashed this Venom movie, and I just said that I thought that Morbius looks like crap, but like, I know that it takes a lot of effort to make one of these, and I know that like, and I know that like no one is going to they're not trying to make a crappy movie, or it's not like they don't care. Everybody cares. Everybody's putting in a ton of effort. It's just something about maybe like the intention behind it on like an executive level and like what they're trying to do. And I think that it's just, sometimes it can feel very transparent when it's like they're just trying to make something for the sake of making money versus like having some kind of like really great idea that's pushing everything.
Oh, yeah, this is absolutely trying to capitalize on intellectual property that they own. They're trying to push out whatever they can, and they're trying to do it in whatever way to maximize profit. So it's not going to be a crazy, super expensive blockbuster, but it's not going to be like, low budget garbage. So there was no great story to tell in these movies, and they're doing it just based on IP recognition. People know who Venom is. And they people have been asking for this before Spider-Man 3 and even after Spider-Man 3, because a lot of people were just unsatisfied with that portrayal of the character, which I think in hindsight makes a lot of sense, but it just didn't work on a lot of levels.
Right.
But I think, go ahead.
Well, that's what I kind of wanted to say at the very beginning. Is that reading the comics from when we were kids and just kind of going back to them recently, Eddie is very different. Eddie is very serious. He kind of sometimes sounds like a serial killer in his own kind of personal monologues. He has like a lot of guilt for being Venom, but he has a lot of anger. He hates Spider-Man with a burning passion. And in this, he's just this guy that is very kind of quirky, and it's just the whole like trying to control Venom and it's awkward kind of thing. That's the whole thing. There's nothing where Eddie is intense or anything like that at all.
Yeah, it's like Tom Hardy's Eddie has like a heart of gold, and Eddie Brock in the comics doesn't.
Right.
I mean, obviously, yes. I mean, he does have a more of an anti-hero streak at some point, but even still, like that doesn't touch this at all.
Yeah.
They very much went a watered down anti-hero, and they sprinkled in a little bit of violence in there where they could, but ultimately it's a superhero movie.
Yeah. And they killed Carnage,
Yeah, I was a little surprised about that, but also happy at the same time because I wouldn't have to sit through it again.
Yeah. The thing is, right, is that you can still cash in and try to make as much money as you can with IP recognition, like you're saying, right? And there's so much potential there. Like, if they were to do this thing, which I guarantee they're not, but if they were trying to make it like that the symbiotes can go into different parts of the multiverse, like they can like somehow go from world to world and they hunt, it's like spider people, that would be cool because that's like making them a much bigger threat.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was saying, like the Inheritors, where
it's
like
that would be interesting. Yeah. Yeah, because on one hand, I mean, I do like the Inheritors. I did really enjoy the original Spider-Verse comic, but on some level, it is kind of cheesy. They're essentially vampires, and then they hunt spider people, and it's like when you say that out loud, it sounds really dumb.
Right.
But it kind of worked. Like I enjoyed the first Moreland arc in J. Michael Straczynski's run on Amazing Spider-Man, and I really like. Spider-Verse was one of the few like big crossovers I felt actually delivered. Like I actually enjoyed it front to back. It was just good all the way through, and that's really rare for those big tentpole events.
Yeah, but really good point. If they were to capitalize on that, then there's also the idea that there's this whole mythology behind Venom, and the people that really love Venom in the comics now are all into the Donny Cates Venom run. And Donny Cates actually just left Venom, like the last issue or something like that. But it's this whole thing with Null, this dark god, like this god of night or whatever. And
who kind of looks like a vampire.
Right. He does. Right. Yeah, he does look like a vampire. Yeah. And the thing is that like Null created the symbiotes. And then he also made this sword. And then we've mentioned this on the show before, that like that sword was used by a character that's coming out in Thor, Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like they could, if they really wanted to like cash in on that IP, like tie this all together. And I think fans would be eating it up. Because all this shit, it's like guys like us just sitting there speculating and making YouTube videos all the time. And it's just, you're just adding to the advertising, just pumping this up, getting the excitement out there, Yep. Like, oh, is that Gore, the God Butcher's sword and Venom, like all that kind of stuff. That's what drives this stuff now.
Yep.
And they probably won't do it. I don't know how the hell they're going to explain why Spider-Man's around now, but
yeah, I really don't know how they're going to do this at all. And I like I said before, I have very mixed emotions about it. It could be, I mean, I guess there's a lot more risk than success here, ultimately, but we just gotta wait and see, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's a good way to kind of wrap this all up. So I guess we're both not recommending Venom. Let there be carnage.
No, I can't, but I can recommend, if you do, I mean, if you see it, some things are just so ridiculous. I'm not sure if it's like a so bad it's good movie. I'm not really sure yet, but maybe, because it is really, really ridiculous. And to the point where you can sit there and be like, what the hell were they thinking like the entire time? I mean, this might be a great movie for how did this get made? You know?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. I
The
mean,
potential of making fun of it's there.
yeah, maybe there is some merit in seeing it for that, but like if you're a fan of Venom, you like the character Venom, or you like the character Carnage, and on some semi-serious level or whatever, I can't imagine you enjoying this movie.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, I actually do kind of like both those characters on some level, and it just was like a big nothing for me, which is like.
But you know who we need to track down? We need to track down Gary, who is a huge Venom fan. We need to find out what he thinks about these movies. Yeah. I think
Did he have a Venom tattoo?
I think he did have a Venom tattoo. Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to go find him and ask him what he thinks about these movies.
Yes. Gary, if you're watching, man, I mean, you should already like and subscribe. You know, we could use another subscribe on the channel. But yeah, we got the Venom discourse going. See what you thought about it. I don't know. We'll see. You know, I don't think it's like as ridiculous as like say those like Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider movies, but I feel like it's sort of like in the same realm.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, what do we have coming up then next? Then we were gonna do DC Fandom, right?
Yes.
Oh, and then did you hear it? They had like a little like Batman talking. Did you hear him talk?
No.
Yeah. I shared a little clip with you. It like shows the bat signal, and he says something. He's like, "It's not a signal; it's a warning."
Oh no, I haven't seen that. I'll have to look that up. I don't remember. Man, I missed a lot of stuff today. If I missed that, and I missed the Spider-Verse sequel title announcement.
Yeah.
Catch up.
Yeah, go check out the Batman thing after we get off this. But Brian and I will be here next week. We're going to talk about the DC Fandom, and then we're going to try to like talk about Why the Last Man, because we're actually going to be on a podcast together with some other podcasters in November to talk about the Why the Last Man show. So that's what we have coming up. But of course, if you guys ever have suggestions for things that have been adapted from comic books into shows or movies, please let us know. I know that guy Adit always has good recommendations. But we love just getting together and talking about comic book adaptations, comic books that are transformed on here. So I'm blathering a lot. It's a good sign to get going. All right, Brian, good night. We'll see you next time.